Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank the people over on Patreon who have taken the time out to help support the channel, and just got to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your support. Once I start offering memberships and figure out what to offer for memberships on this channel, I'll start adding the names of YouTube members as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto chapter 54. And dude, now that chapter 54 is done and in the books, oh my god, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about, man. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. So for anime only fans, this is the time of the month where a lot of the content on the channel is going to be spoiler heavy. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you clicked on this video by accident, I'm strongly recommending that you click off of this video. So with all that being said though, if you're still here, I'm assuming that you've already read the latest Boruto manga chapter, or that you don't care about spoilers. So yo, hands down, man, this is one of those chapters where everything that you think is not going to happen actually happened, right? So one of the things that you did not think was going to happen was the fact that BoruShiki was not going to be in a position where he couldn't absorb ninjutsu, and yet when you look at it, Masashi Kishimoto, he's taken over as the writer for the story, and you can see it in so many different levels. So we get the confirmation that BoruShiki attacked Sasuke's rinnegan on purpose, and the whole reason for it was to take out Sasuke's rinnegan because of the space-time ninjutsu. Momoshiki, he's in full control of Boruto's body, to the point where even Naruto, this is the first time Naruto's seen it, and Naruto says right away that Momoshiki is in control of his son, and BoruShiki responds by saying that, look, I had to get rid of Sasuke's space-time ninjutsu because it would have been troublesome. Because for those of you guys who need that reminder, Sasuke using Ameno Tejikara, especially in the anime version of that fight, Sasuke's Ameno Tejikara played a huge role in Momoshiki getting one of his rinnegan taken out. And given the fact that Sasuke can also use the rinnegan to open up those space-time portals to connect to another one of Kage's dimensions, that gives him the ability to actually escape Momoshiki. And given the fact that there are so many different dimensions, Momoshiki was right. There's too many places that they can actually hide. So by keeping them all sectored off into this one unknown section of those Otsutsuki dimensions, this allows Momoshiki every opportunity to get the job done here. And so I like how Masashi Kishimoto, you see very clearly Kishimoto's writing tendencies where everything is typically done in balance. So while Sasuke might have lost one of his more overpowered ocular powers, BoruShiki is not able to use his full power either. So both of these characters are nerfed to a certain extent. On one hand, Sasuke, I think a lot of people are missing this, is the fact that Sasuke already took quite the beating. So Sasuke used the Ameno Tejikara and drained quite a bit of his chakra by spamming it earlier on in the fight against Isshiki, and then he opened up that portal, transported himself and Naruto to the dimension. So Sasuke already wasn't working with the full supply of chakra. Isshiki's kicking this dude through mountains and kicking him through boulders, got his foot on Sasuke's throat. Boruto's having to step in to actually save Sasuke from being killed. Sasuke already wasn't at full power, but when you look at the fact that BoruShiki was able to heal some of Boruto's wounds, and he's clearly operating at a higher starting point than he did when he took out Boru, I think that Kishimoto, by allowing Sasuke to be nerfed, and then by having Naruto in a position where Naruto understands everything that is happening with his son in this point in time, but Naruto not be able to actually do anything because of the effects of that Baryon mode that Naruto had, this is actually something that works, because you're seeing how two characters are coming down and another one's rising to a level to where he can actually go toe-to-toe against them. And so I thought that this was interesting simply for the fact that Naruto, as much as you know Naruto probably wants to step in to save his son, because Naruto probably feels some level of guilt, because like I've talked about in the past, Naruto started to kill Momoshiki himself, and then he paused and he allowed Boruto to hand down that finishing blow, according to the Sasuke Shinden novel, simply for the fact that he wanted Boruto to get that experience of taking on a high-level shinobi using higher levels of chakra. That way Boruto gets the feeling and the adrenaline rush that comes from using high-level ninjutsu in a battle to beat somebody. And so everything that's befallen Boruto in a way is on Naruto's shoulders. And and to have Naruto in a position where Naruto actually passes out because of the lingering effects is something I think a lot of us were expecting. I personally thought that we were going to see Naruto attempt to try and fight BoruShiki and then just get demolished, but I understand why Kishimoto did not have Ikimoto go that route. So when the chapter is actually being written, I understand why you don't do this, because if you have Naruto struggling in that way, that's gonna be a harder pill for a lot of people to swallow. I get it. Naruto was sacrificing a lot of his chakra. It looked like Naruto could barely stand up at the end of the last chapter, so maybe having him fight like this is maybe just a little bit too much. And given where it looks like the story might actually be going, it's actually going to be a bigger shock, and it's going to be a bigger testament to the relationship that Naruto and Boruto have if Naruto's not actually able to see what is actually unfolding. So I like how as they start mixing it up, right, you get this moment where BoruShiki says that this is the second time that I've been able to come out of the body like this. Boruto's actually a really good vessel for me. I can move around freely this time. And that kind of goes back to it. You know, Momoshiki basically hit the lottery, because think about how many times that Isshiki had to go from child to child and put the karma seal on all these various people looking for a suitable host. And you can probably bet that during all this time that Isshiki was inside of Jigen's body, going all the way back to the time of Kaguya, that he's not been able to find somebody who's been suitable enough to actually get the karma seal. So that just shows you how hard it is to actually find somebody on this planet in particular that can actually hold the karma seal for you. And so I thought that that was interesting. It's kind of like a callback to what you got in part 1 of Naruto, to where, you know, the people that get the curse mark on them, I want to say it's like a 66% rate that people are going to die that got Orochimaru's curse mark. And so I thought that that was kind of interesting to see Momoshiki acknowledge the fact that Naruto's son is actually the ideal vessel. So I think that's cool. It's kind of like a little nod to the fact that Boruto indirectly has Otsutsuki genes inside of him. Now, when you look at Sasuke's immediately just getting to a point where, you know, everything's clicking for him, because Sasuke understands they're in a dire situation. So whereas Kawaki is getting emotional, and you see this very beautifully done flashback of where Kawaki is recalling the fact that he and Boruto, they're promising that they're going to stop Jigen together, they're going to free themselves of the actual karma seal, and you see the emotion building up on Kawaki's face. While it wasn't as expressive as I would have liked, it is something where it is nice to see that Ikimoto is attempting to put a little bit of expression. I think that that's probably where Ikimoto as an artist can stand to take another step forward, is getting a little bit more expressive with his actual art. You know, I remember, I want to say it was 2018 or 2019, where Ikimoto had that interview that he did, and he said that's one of the things that Kishimoto was telling him was to work on his character eyes and faces, because that goes into the whole thing with expressiveness. And so I think that that's probably where you could kind of see like a little bit of a step forward right there, maybe just a little bit more emotional in Kawaki's face when he's saying that, 'cause that's a huge thing. Because the thing that I took from it is, given the fact that Kawaki, based off of the actual dialogue, is saying Boruto, my brother, that's a phrase that he uses more than once. You know, it's one of those things where the language is conveying how close of a bond Boruto and Kawaki have, but this is one of those times where, you know, you really want to bring that out in the art. And so I think that's one area that probably could have used just a little bit more of a touch up on for that scene. But this is effective narratively how Kawaki is being used in this manner, because you're seeing how Kawaki is starting to lose his cool a little bit, and then you see how Sasuke is just maintaining this cool and calculated persona as he's watching everything unfold with this student. And for a moment you think, okay, Sasuke's just gone back to that cold-hearted, cold-blooded motherfucker that we saw towards the end of the Naruto manga, where Sasuke was like slicing up samurai, and he sees Obito half dead, he sees Madara half dead, and he's just going straight for the kill. And so you're thinking, okay, Sasuke's thinking of the way to actually take down his student and look for the weaknesses. But then you also get a flashback with Sasuke, where Sasuke's recalling the fact that, like, hey, you know, it's my duty to you as your master. If Momoshiki ever takes over your body, I've got to put you down. I won't allow you to become the monster that potentially kills your friends and family. I won't ever let it come to that. And so I like how you see the two contrasts. So that's very, very good when it comes to just balancing internal and external. In this sense, Kishimoto uses Kawaki as an external way of voicing the high stakes of the situation, because Kawaki is, in a lot of ways, he's a lot like how Naruto used to be, in that he blurts out how he feels without actually thinking about it first. Kawaki's just a little smarter than 12-year-old and 16-year-old Naruto were. And so I like that little bit right there, and how it's contrasted with Sasuke, where you don't actually see Sasuke's emotions until you actually get to the actual flashback. And then that's when it hits you, they're like, oh shit, Sasuke's struggling right now too. Now, this is the crazy thing though, like Sasuke's struggling, but once the battle with BoruShiki starts, Sasuke ain't pulling no punches. He's looking, lightning style jutsu going right for the juggler on it. Sasuke looks at it, says, oh, he can't absorb ninjutsu. That's completely cool right there. Sasuke whipping out the Amaterasu flames right then and there. That lets you know that Sasuke understood, like, look, if I'm gonna kill my student, I'm going to kill my student. I love that moment right there, because that shows you with those Amaterasu flames, if BoruShiki was not able to actually absorb them, Sasuke was going for a killing blow right there. He was going for a killing blow, because those flames are going to keep burning until you're dead or until Sasuke extinguishes them. And because he had already made up the mental resolve to kill his student, that was essentially Sasuke saying, I'm going to kill you in a brutal fashion, and it's going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. I'm going to have to kill you in this way to make sure Momoshiki does not survive this. And Sasuke was there in the room where Boruto, when he's talking, says it's like he was deep underwater and he knew somewhat of what was going on with his body, but he couldn't actually stop the things from taking place. Sasuke was willing to put his student through that, knowing that that's the best way to actually respect his student. That's where you see the difference with Sasuke and with Naruto. That's not a knock on Naruto, but I think that at that point, Naruto, I made a video that you guys should have already seen by now. It should have already been scheduled. I said, like, it would be the most humane thing if Naruto was able to find a way to actually seal the essence of BoruShiki. That way it can be used as a way to slow down the progression of the karma seal. Sasuke's like, well, fuck it. That's the only karma seal that Momoshiki's got. If I gotta kill him, I gotta kill him. So I like how you see Sasuke regress in some stances, but also Sasuke take growth in other stances, because it shows you just how much he actually cares for his student. You could almost say Boruto's a son to him. I joke about it, but you could almost say that Boruto's like a son. So I like how, as these fights are going on, you get this shit talking where BoruShiki is telling Kawaki, like, look, dude, you know, you're free now. This is what you always wanted. You wanted to be free of the karma seal. I sat back in the cut. I allowed you guys to do all that stuff to Isshiki. Isshiki's soul is gone. You're free. But peep this shit, fam. I'm still gonna feed you to the Ten Tails. That is some savage shit. And this is the thing though. BoruShiki, I don't think he knows exactly where the Ten Tails is. I think that he knows Isshiki has a Ten Tails hidden because he says it, but I don't think he knows where exactly it is. Now, granted, these Otsutsuki dimensions are probably interconnected, so it's just a matter of just going to the various dimensions and finding where it's at, snapping Code's neck, and then feeding Kawaki to the Ten Tails. What I like though is how you get these panels where when the action sequences are going on, you know, you get this really cool shot of where BoruShiki takes a kunai and he's blocking Sasuke's sword. You also have this moment where BoruShiki is dodging Kawaki's attacks. Kawaki's using that modified arm and he's trying to attack BoruShiki, and BoruShiki is just dodging the attacks like it's nothing. I know somebody's like, well, how can Kawaki keep up? Now you have to recall this much. So just as all the members of Car had their bodies scientifically augmented, so characters like Delta, Kashi, and Koji, Kawaki's body was also augmented with scientific ninja weapon tech. That's why Kawaki is so much stronger than your regular shinobi. It isn't just one of those instances where Kawaki had the karma. So I think it's a lot of people have looked at Kawaki and said that his real power is the karma seal, and that's true, but Kawaki already had a very strong base just based on the fact that Amato got in there and tinkered with his body. That's how, and I use the Dragon Ball reference because Ikimoto and Kodachi, when they came up with this concept of how Kara works, they clearly had Dragon Ball inspiration. Both of those people, Ikimoto as an artist, damn sure, and Kodachi as a writer, there was a lot of influence from Dragon Ball. There were a lot of homages that were paid, and one of the things you saw with those characters is that a normal teenage boy and girl in Lapis and Lazuli got augmented by Dr. Gero, and they became what are known as Android 17 and 18, and they were strong enough to keep up with Super Saiyans. And so when you look at that huge jump, that's the same thing that's happening with Kara here. So that's why Kawaki's able to fight on the same level that you're seeing there, is because of how crazy advanced the actual science is. We saw how Delta was keeping up with a suppressed Naruto, and these are some very powerful characters. Now, the other thing though, the other thing that I kind of want to bring your attention to is I like how as Sasuke's fighting against Boruto, as this is happening, as Sasuke's using the lightning release, trying to figure out everything that's going on with BoruShiki, I like how you see the gradual progression that is happening to where Sasuke gets a theory and then he confirms it by continuing to use those elemental attacks and fighting in a very coordinated and calculated manner to where he's seeing the full extent of what BoruShiki is actually able to do. And I think at this moment, this is where Sasuke has a little bit of an advantage because he's able to use his superior combat experience. So as a bit of a reminder for some of you guys, so when you look at Momoshiki, I think that a lot of people, they look at the anime version and say like, oh my god, you know, Momoshiki was using all types of advanced taijutsu, and that's true, that's super impressive. But the manga version of Momoshiki that fought against Naruto and Sasuke, if you've not read that fight, I would recommend actually reading that fight and not taking into account what you saw in the anime, because it's two different types of tone. What you saw in the manga version was actually closer to what you saw in the Boruto movie novelization, which is the fact that Momoshiki just had a lot of raw power, but he didn't have a lot of actual skill when it comes to certain things like taijutsu and when it comes to actual strategic actual fighting. Momoshiki just was a freaking tank. And in the novelization, the thing that Momoshiki says is that it's because even though Naruto and Sasuke are not at their full power, when they fight together because of their teamwork and because of their actual training as ninja, they're giving him a lot of trouble, and if he could fight them one-on-one, he could just outright overpower them. But as they were in that moment, he stood absolutely no chance. And in the manga, you see it on how Naruto's just grabbing Momoshiki's wrist and right up in the air and then flinging this dude around, and Naruto and Sasuke are working in coordination and they're just gradually wearing this dude down. So with Sasuke, it's the same thing. So BoruShiki is using Boruto's moves, but he's not fighting like Boruto. That's the difference when you look at the way that the taijutsu goes, because Boruto uses more of the gentle fist type of stuff. When he's using taijutsu, he's using more of those gentle fist moves, even though he's not actually performing the gentle fist and attacking your chakra points. And so what I like in this moment right here is that Sasuke has that advantage, and I like how BoruShiki understands that he can't allow this battle to drag out because he's at a severe disadvantage. Sasuke switching between fire release and lightning release and Amaterasu. Sasuke is just going straight for the dude because he smells blood. Sasuke is now confirming his theory about the ability to absorb ninjutsu, and I like how you get that build up to the fact that BoruShiki realizes, I gotta take Kawaki and I gotta get out of here. Naruto's out of commission. Sasuke can't follow after me. I need to get the fuck out right now. And what I like in this moment is the fact that he tries to actually take Kawaki, and Kawaki says, I am not going back to being a test tube baby. And Kawaki uses fire release at point blank range, but he doesn't use it on BoruShiki necessarily, but instead he puts himself on fire with the fire release jutsu, showcasing how far Kawaki's willing to go to actually save Boruto, that he's willing to put his body through literally burning his own body, being engulfed in fire style jutsu. That's absolutely insane. That's an insane level of dedication. That's also showing you Kawaki ain't trying to be fed to no ten tails. So that was pretty damn cool. Like, I love the fact that Kawaki does not hesitate on that. This man has been stabbed with kunai, but even despite all of this, he's still fighting. He's not allowing himself to actually be taken away by BoruShiki. And I like how you get this moment where Sasuke says, like, look, not only can this dude not absorb ninjutsu, but right now we're also in a situation where he does not want to absorb the ninjutsu because it's directly linked with him being able to maintain control over Boruto, because if Boruto regains chakra, Boruto will be able to stop him. That's why he does not want this to progress in this manner, because if he absorbs the ninjutsu, it's going to give Boruto more chakra. If it gives Boruto more chakra, Boruto can overpower him. And so now I think we're seeing another weakness of the Karma Seal, which is when an Otsutsuki begins to take over the body of a vessel, they really need to wait until it's at 100% completion, because you open yourself up for situations like this to where if the vessel is able to maintain enough of the chakra, they can actually suppress you. So it's kind of like that tug of war that you see with the Biju. So I thought that was a nice little callback right there. That's actually a nice callback. And so this is one of those things where going forward in the future, as Boruto fights, Boruto's gonna have to maintain a certain amount of chakra. Otherwise, he's in this position where Momoshiki can take over his body. So that's interesting. That's interesting. That kind of just shows you exactly what Isshiki was talking about over a year ago. So when the Naruto and Sasuke versus Isshiki battle happened, what was the thing that Isshiki said? Naruto as Hokage is the more powerful one, but the one who needs to be eliminated first is Sasuke Uchiha, and he needs to be eliminated because he's the more dangerous one. This is what makes Sasuke so dangerous, is his ability to break everything down and then break down the reason behind the reason and find the weaknesses. Like, this is why Sasuke is the most dangerous fighter that you see in the Naruto franchise. I love that element right there. I love how Kishimoto is having Ikimoto draw this in a way to where you're seeing this put on front stage and center as well. And I thought that it was interesting how you get this moment to where BoruShiki realizes he needs to try and pick these dudes off. He needs to pick these dudes off, and so he uses the vanishing Rasengan and he strikes Sasuke with it, which was interesting that Sasuke got hit with it. And I like how you get this moment where as he tries to take advantage of the fact that Sasuke's down and he's attacking Kawaki, he's going to try and take Kawaki, Boruto's able to actually regain consciousness, and he regains enough of the consciousness, and through sheer willpower, he actually breaks off his own horn, and this gives him the full control over his body, and he's able to put BoruShiki back down into his consciousness. So now Momoshiki's essentially been kind of pushed back out of control. And I thought it was very touching how you get Boruto apologizing to Kawaki, saying, "I'm sorry for all the trouble that I caused." And Kawaki says, "You're like a brother to me. We're gonna be in this together." And what I like is how they get their moment, and then Naruto and Sasuke, they get their moment without Naruto and Sasuke ever exchanging words, because Sasuke looks down at Naruto and he's got this concerned look on his face, which is they're building up to the fact that just like in the last chapter where Sasuke says that new power you had, it comes with some type of price. What is it? And Naruto trails off and never says anything. And now Naruto, somebody who is a freaking stamina freak, is worn out after less than a day of fighting. Sasuke knows that there's something wrong with Naruto, and because the Sharingan's able to see chakra as a color, Sasuke's looking at Naruto's chakra and he knows that there's something off. So this is good. Overall, like I said, this is a good chapter, man. Like it was kind of action packed, but that's to be expected. You see the classic Kishimoto elements of, you know, you get the trade off of one person gets powered up or one person gets depowered, so therefore it happens to the other. You see the yin and yang effect being put in. You also see the usage of flashbacks. I mean, this is definitely a step in the right direction. Like I said, it's at a point now to where artistically, I'm hoping that going into year 5, which is where Ikimoto is as a mangaka, I'm really hoping that Ikimoto takes those next few steps, because at this point, after 5 years of drawing the franchise, doing what's roughly the equivalent of like 120 something manga chapters, if you're looking at this from the perspective of Boruto being a weekly manga, Boruto, each chapter is like 40 something pages, so that's like roughly about 2.5 chapters. Weekly manga is about 16 to 18 pages, so you're looking at about 2.5 chapters, give or take a few pages. You know, the fact is, it's like for Boruto as a manga, in order to hit that same success level that the anime's at, the art, I really feel like it's the art that's the one thing that's really holding it back, man. You know, you look at a lot of weekly series, you have weekly series that the mangaka are coming up with the story, they're doing research, they're doing staff meetings, and they're still giving us stuff like double page spreads or having character models breaking through the actual panels. The expression on certain scenes, on climactic scenes, are way more expressive. Some of the panels are a little bit more dynamic, and I know that Ikimoto can actually do this stuff because some of the stuff that I gripe about outside of the double page spreads, some of the stuff I gripe about is stuff that I know for a fact he did when he was working as Kishimoto's assistant, and I know for a fact, especially early on in Boruto, if you take away like the way he was drawing Sasuke Uchiha Snape, but if you look at how he was actually doing some of his panels, some of his panel game was actually better at the beginning of the series, but the art was lacking. So I'm really hoping year 5 is the year that Ikimoto really finds himself, because just kind of copy and pasting Dragon Ball poses and references and copy and pasting little small moments from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you really got to step into your own when it comes to being a mangaka. His art in terms of designs, absolutely beautiful. I love his designs. It's everything else that leaves a lot to be desired. My chapter question to you guys is, number 1, what do you think the fate of Naruto ultimately is? And then number 2, how do you feel about the fact that Sasuke was willing to go that far to actually stop Boruto and save his student from the tragedy of knowing that he potentially killed the people he cared for? And how do you feel about the fact that Boruto was able to regain consciousness and push Momoshiki off? Let me know how you guys feel down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.